Good afternoon. The subcommittee is now going live. ABC Gaming. We're in order, and we are going to start with Delegate Ward's House Bill 1920, and she is right now chairing the full committee of Labor and Commerce, so she's asked me if I would present it, and so I am going to present her bill. This is about remuneration for bingo callers and bingo managers. Currently, right now, in the code, they're restricted. We do have we've got a word, a line amendment. Can I have a motion to? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. The line amendment is in. It's what it does is on line 99, you unstrike may and you strike shall. So what this does, right currently in the code, if you're a bingo caller, most bingo callers in the Commonwealth are volunteers. And that's why that line amendment is important, because it makes it clear that volunteers are still the preferred way, and they can still they can still do it, and they don't have to be paid. But if they are a professional bingo caller, right now they're restricted to $100 per session. That hasn't changed since the 90s. So you always hear about people talking about something at 10 years old. This is a long time ago. And so we're now putting up to $200, not so long, right? $200 is what she would like to move it up to. And we do have a number of people online that want to speak to it, but before we get to them, is there anybody on the committee that has any questions or any comments regarding the bill? Is there anybody in the audience, in the live audience, that wants to speak for the bill? Anybody in the live audience here that wants to speak against the bill? And now we're going to go right to the, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are for the bill. If they online, we'll give everybody 2 minutes each, and try not to use all the time if you can, especially if you're repeating what's been said prior to you, and just give us your name, and if you represent an organization, mention that too. And we'll start with Mark McKinney. Mark there? Yeah, you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, now can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now, Mark.
Okay, I'm a bingo caller. I've been calling for 31 years, so that gives you a thing. Up until about 8 years ago, laws were passed, DAB games were issued. As of now, there's no limited amount of games that you can play on a current program during a session. The work for callers and responsibility has increased tremendously. Whenever it comes to money, let me put this out there. I am a certified caller through Virginia. We used to not call as many holidays anymore. Now we're calling almost every holiday. We're trying to raise the pay to attract more callers, because right now callers are limited, because most commercial halls wants a certified caller up on the stand that pretty much know what they're doing. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Mark. Mark, if and everybody listening that's online that's getting ready to testify, please do have your camera on. That's general law policy. All right, thank you for that. Next is Kaylin Wax.
Hi, my name is Kaylin. I am the treasurer for an organization that operates bingo. We've had Mark as one of our callers before. They are extremely pivotal in what makes or breaks our sessions. Like, we need these callers, and throttling them down at $100 which back 30 years ago was a lot of money. Our sessions can be no longer than 6 hours. So that comes to $16 an hour. Back in the 90s, like you said, that was a lot of money. And now it's not. Like, they could go anywhere and work for $16 and have better hours and more hours at it. And when one calls out sick, we're scrambling trying to find people because we have such a small pool now. So being able to open that is crucial. I ultimately believe there should be no cap. When it comes to landlords, there's no cap for rent. When it comes to security, there's no cap for how much we can pay them. When it comes to the suppliers that we buy bingo paper and instance from, there's no cap for them. Why do the callers even have a cap? If you take away the cap, you don't even have to do, if you just line out the remuneration shall exceed 200, line that out, you don't even have to do the rest of it. The rest of it can go away because then they can negotiate with each organization. And honestly, a caller like Mark, who's been doing this for 32 years, deserves probably more than $200. But we do have some callers that are brand new. We also have callers that are volunteer. And the big thing that we were putting forward was the shall versus may, which it sounds like you guys have all approved. And we're grateful for that because when it comes to the manager side, a lot of those are still volunteers, myself included.
Thank you very much. Next is Dr. Jennifer Goff.
I represent REACH, Reading Reaches All Children. We are also a charitable gaming bingo entity. Mark is one of our callers. We strongly support the ability to pay our bingo managers and our bingo callers a more competitive and fair wage. With that, I do hope to continue the conversation with the increase in cost. While we are going to be able to pay more and we should pay more, this does negatively impact our use of proceeds, which has been a struggle to meet since I've started, which could ultimately lead us to losing our bingo license according to the current ones. So I'm very much in favor of supporting more compensation and the ability to negotiate with our callers and managers, but also continuing the conversation about many of the outdated rules that are included with charitable gaming, specifically for bingo.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Mr. Randy Riffle, please. Not there. And Mr. Willie Wimmer. Not on? Okay, that concludes the live testimony on online testimony. And there's nobody against online, that's just 4. So do we have any further questions or comments or motions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Delegate Torian.
I move to report.
We have a motion to report. Do we have a second? We have a second. The clerk will open the roll as amended with the one amendment. The clerk will close the roll. The bill reports as amended, 7-0. Next bill we have is, we have another bill from Delegate Ward, and HB 1925, which we're going to strike that bill with her permission, and that is a recorded vote. So I have it's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. The clerk will close the roll. The bill is stricken from the docket on a vote of 6-0. Next, we have bill number HB 1981, Delegate Helmer's bill, and I've talked to the delegate, and we are going to pass that by for the week, so I need a motion to pass it by. It's a voice vote. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of passing by for the day, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Okay, the bill has been passed by for the week. And then we have Delegate Bennett Parker with House Bill 1994.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
Delegate Bennett Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1994 requires that restaurants that sell alcohol for on-premises consumption provide free potable water to customers upon request. The vast majority of restaurants already do this, and many people I've spoken to assumed this was already the law. However, the bill was inspired by a constituent who visited a restaurant that refused to provide her with tap water, requiring that she instead purchase a bottle of water. Ensuring that customers have access to free potable water is a common sense step to promote health, safety, and responsible consumption. I have consulted with the Virginia Restaurant Travel and Lodging Association, and they are neutral, recognizing that this simply codifies a practice already followed by most restaurants. And I believe the individual who inspired the bill is unable to testify today, but I hope that it is straightforward, good for consumers, and reflects a best practice that benefits both patrons and the hospitality industry. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'll make sure you don't miss any.
Do we have any questions or comments from the committee? Do we have anybody in the audience, the live audience, that wants to testify for the bill? Is there anybody in the audience against the bill? There is online. Mark McKinney had indicated. No, he's not. Yeah, he indicated no position. Okay, he's gone. All right, so there's nobody in the virtual world. And do we have no more questions? Is Delegate Bennett Parker, do you have any last words? This water is not spiked. It's regular H2O.
I hope that it's the common will of the subcommittee to report the bill. I'm unclear if, as a member, I'm allowed to move my own bill. But
Move to report. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. To report, the clerk will open the rolls. The clerk will close the roll. The bill reports on a vote of 5-2. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go to my bill 2058, and Chairman Torian is going to chair the committee while I present.
Thank you, Chairman Presat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2058 clarifies that under current law, mixed beverage restaurant, limited mixed beverage restaurant licensees may sell for off-premises consumption or deliver up to 2 mixed beverages per meal served, but shall in no event sell for off-premises consumption or deliver more than 4 mixed beverages at any one time. The bill maintains alcoholic beverage controlled third-party delivery licenses, preventing the sunset scheduled to go into effect July 1, 2026. So what this does is essentially removes the sunset. Last year, Delegate Leftwich we had bifurcated this bill, this third-party delivery, and we removed the sunset on the first half of it, which was the restaurants, I believe, Delegate Leftwich, and this is now, and that was because the ABC had looked at the making sure that those deliveries were compliant and that underage folks were not being delivered to, and I think it was an 87% compliance rate at the time, so we decided we would go forward with that. But we were concerned about this, but since then we have had some more testing, and I believe the compliance rate is over 90% now, and so I think we're ready to take and join the other 29 states and the District of Columbia that have made alcohol delivery permanent. And that's what there's been a year-long stakeholder process with the third-party delivery licensees, restaurants, grocery stores, and the ABC. And ABC's here, and they can testify to this, and that it's time now to remove the sunset.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any comments or questions from the committee? Delegate Price.
Yes, thank you. I have, speaking to the bill. Sorry, I didn't
Delegate
ask.
Price.
Thank you. So we had, a few of us had expressed some concern when we were discussing the bill last year. And I think at one point, there may not have actually been a mechanism to really dive into the compliance rate. And so now I'm really glad to hear that over 90% compliance for the delivery of the mixed beverages. But I would caution us and say, but that's still new. Some of the other folks have had years and years and years of experience and being in compliance, and this is still new. And so if everything is literally going so well and so wonderful that we get to 90% compliance, then there's no harm, I think, with the sunset extend being in place for another year, and then we can come back, whoever that composition of the General Assembly will be, and then take this up next year. But I think it is too soon to lift that and let it be inspiration for us to continue to be doing so well. But when it comes to the safety of our children and some of the concerns that we raised about the delivery, I do think it is prudent to keep that sunset still effective. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments from the committee? Okay. Anyone in the audience who is in favor of 2058 would like to speak?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Nicole Brenner, on behalf of Uber Eats, want to thank the patron for putting in the bill and ABC for convening the stakeholders several times this year. They exceeded the number of decoy operations that the General Assembly asked them to do last year, and you've already spoken about the compliance rate. If I could also respond to Delegate Price's comment, understood that we have not been in this industry as long as everyone else, but I would just remind the committee, ABC still has the authority to take a third-party delivery license holder's license if they find them to not be compliant with the statute, and that might be a more appropriate mechanism if there is an issue than taking the option for the license from the entire industry. But appreciate the committee's consideration.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Tommy Herbert, representing the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. Just want to associate ourselves with Ms. Brenner's comments, say we're grateful to the patron, grateful to the stakeholders, grateful to ABC for convening that work group over the summer. We hope you'll support the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Robert Melvin with the R Street Institute. We also would like to associate our comments with Mr. Herbert and Ms. Brenner. There's been a lot of positive developments with regards to this over the past several years, and we have seen the positive movement with regards to the compliance rates, and we think that makes a lot of sense and reinforces specifically some of the research that we've done at R Street Institute that has found that there is no correlation between relaxing these restrictions and going and it doesn't lead to increased drunk driving. It doesn't lead to increased underage access, et cetera. So thank you very much for sponsoring it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I'm Rebecca Leach with Walmart. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today about HB 2058. Our customers have come to really enjoy and participate in the home delivery of beer and wine or alcohol with their orders. And we were very fortunate to be able to participate in the ABC stakeholder process where we delved into the compliance issue and assessment of whether or not we were compliant. We were very pleased to find, as previously stated, that we were more than 90% compliant. And so we appreciate ABC's really hard work. Like I said, they exceeded the number of assessments that were supposed to occur, and so we really appreciate their hard work, and we appreciate your support of the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jody Roth on behalf of Virginia Retail Federation, and I just would like to thank ABC for conducting the stakeholder group and all the work that took place over the summer. We do support the bill, and I'd like to associate myself with the comments of the previous speakers and my member Walmart. Thank you.
Cindy DeFranco with the Virginia Spirits Association. We thank the chair for engaging and staying engaged in this issue and working with the stakeholder group to ensure that no effort moved forward until it was ready to move forward. We engage only in issues that not only promote modernization of the industry, but provide a safe, fair, and equitable marketplace. And we think we're at that stage where not only third-party, but it joins all other aspects of restaurants and other home deliveries. We're all on the same playing field now, and we're ready to just make sure things stay that way. So we would appreciate the support. The bill has passed Senate ABC unanimously, I believe, and we hope you'll do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience to speak against 2058? If not, the committee acts by motion. It's been moved and seconded that we report HB 2058. Clerk, will you please open the roll? Bill reports 5-1. Thank you. Chairman Cresack, 5-2. Chairman Cresack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, before we get on to the next bill, which will be Delegate Thomas's HB 2078, I would like to, we have a vote change that we would like to do. So what I'm going to do, having voted on the prevailing side of House Bill 1994, Delegate Bennett Parker's bill, I would move that we reconsider the vote. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, so the bill's before us again.
Votes are for it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. All right, the clerk will close the roll. The bill reports 6-1. Thank you very much. Now, Delegate Thomas, 2078.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute. If the committee wants to move that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, with the substitutes before us, can you want to just tell us what the substitute does real quick?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. So the first change is on lines 134 to 137. It just has a tighter definition of common interest community. And then the next change is on lines 371 through 377. And that puts more limitations on the exact amount of dollar prize and items of value that pertain to the bill.
Okay. Tell us about the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So before you today is a bill that would seek to address a problem that we all knew was coming from the pandemics. Over the pandemic, people became ever more isolated as required, and that really affected some segments of our population more than others, particularly our seniors who no longer had the ability to go out and see others. I represent in my district a number of retirement communities that are deed-restricted communities where you have to be 55 and up to live there, and they have, since pandemic restrictions were lifted, begun to come together and to hold events together. However, some of the events that they would like to hold where they know that they can get a big portion of the community to come together because it's fun and there's camaraderie is bingo. And so staying on the bingo theme from earlier in the committee, this bill would seek to expand the charitable gaming bingo exceptions to 55 deed-restricted 55 and up community HOAs that run those communities. And it would put a cap on the amount that they could play bingo for cash prizes, no more than $50 for an individual prize and no more than $250 in the aggregate, limited to 7 times per year. And that is simply put what the bill does. I hope the committee will find to report the bill.
Thank you, Delegate. Do we have any questions from the committee?
Yes, Mr.
Delegate Torian.
So let me make sure that I'm understanding this. We traditionally have had bingo to support not-for-profit charitable organizations. Am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So now we want to allow communities for their community gatherings for them to use the not-for-profit charitable arrangement, if you will, to have bingo in their community for profit among themselves.
For a limited, I guess you could say a limited profit, Mr. Chairman. I think it all has to be redistributed back in that same day. But I think the goal is to avoid the overhead that goes with the secondary creation of another LLC that would need to be the charitable organization aside from the HOA, because I don't think the HOA could.
Mr. Chairman, can I, for Delegate, if it doesn't mind, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman. All right, I'm the chairman. I guess I'm the chairman. I'm sorry.
The chair gentleman.
He's always the chair. He's always my chair. He's always my chair. So just to clarify, right now, and Chairman Torian is correct. You're talking about changing what is right now nonprofit, charitable nonprofit
yes,
law.
Mr. Chairman. Sorry, I apologize.
And so what would happen is, to make this work, what your bill does is it would allow a for-profit LLC, which is the 55 and up HOA community, and to let them be able to apply and be in the section and have and be able to hold these bingo games. I will say that there's already the ability to do that for nonprofits, and it's really not that heavy a lift, and I know I've talked to you about this, to become a nonprofit or to utilize a nonprofit that would be situated at the community, like the local, garden club or something, and they could apply, and it's a free application. It's a 2-page application, and I think somebody from the VDAX, the Department of Agriculture, is here and can testify as to how the quick turnaround, it's a 48-hour turnaround, and how easy it is to handle. And the number, I think there's been over 200 applicants, and they've gotten the license. And what it allows you to do is to have 7, and you mentioned this, the 7 events a year and up to $40,000 in gross receipts. So you can have quite a lot of $20 gift cards or $50 gift cards, and you could do 7 events. And what I would encourage you to do is perhaps to come back in the future and think about maybe expanding that. We could consider expanding 7 to 12, if it's the will of the committee at some point, where we would allow all nonprofits to have 12 events per year and still have the 40,000, because I don't think you're going to be close to that threshold. That's something that's much more doable than to open up this code to how many HOAs fall under this in the Commonwealth right now would qualify. Do you know?
You're talking about 55 and up HOAs, Mr. Chairman?
Correct.
I do not have that figure for you.
I do, and it's like 6,000 or something like that. That's what I've been told. So we have only 350 nonprofits that are out there right now that are in the charitable, the fraternal organizations and everything. So it's a real. It really opens up the charitable part of this code to for-profits. I know there's a section in here that you have that you would make sure that a certain percentage goes to nonprofit, to a nonprofit, and that's good. But I really think that you don't need to, you don't need a bill here. But having said all that, I'm willing to take this back to maybe to a work group or something in the future, or to the Virginia Gaming Commission as we get that up, and have them look at that. And that might be the better way to go, just because I don't want to dismiss this out of hand, because obviously your communities feel very strongly about this. And so, what I'm hoping is that we lay this on the table gently, but that we don't dismiss it out of hand, and we come up with some kind of a way to look at it and maybe come back in the future, next year or the year after. But having said that, I think it's a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift, but because of the big code change here, and it would really open it up to a lot of others. But I don't want to be the one making the decision. It's the committee's decision.
Mr. Chairman.
And yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Delegate.
having listened to you express yourself, I have a motion.
All right. Well, before your motion, does the delegate have people here in the audience who want to speak to the bill?
I think we do. Maybe they didn't show up. We had someone who was supposed to be online. I don't know. Did anybody make it online?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Delegatorian, your motion's in order. Am I correct?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we gently lay this on the table for the delegate.
All right. We have a motion to lay it on the table. Do we have a second? All right. We have a motion and a second to lay it on the table. And I will add that as the chairman of the committee, I will either do a letter or talk to the Virginia Game Commission as that gets going, and as the vice chair of the commission that's putting it together, I think I can make that happen. And so, the clerk will open the rolls. All right, the clerk will close the roll. The delegate, your bill has been tabled, vote 7-0. But we'll work on something over the off season. There's got to be a way to do this and make it a charitable, into charity. We'll figure it out. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, delegate. I know this is important. Thank you. Delegate Simon, do you need to leave? Do you want to go do your bill, 2171?
I just wasn't sure if you saw me because I was.
I did see you, but I didn't put when I wanted
Happy
to
to
get
go
it.
now if it's okay with the chair.
No, it's fine. Why don't we hear your bill? House Bill 2171. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. House Bill 2171 is a bill that would lay out a regulated iGaming market. So iGaming is something that's already happening here in Virginia. It just happens through unregulated sweepstakes casinos. So if you guys have seen commercials and things for something like the Chumba Casino and so forth, people are playing these casino-style games on their phones. They're just doing it through this unregulated illegal market. And they're often based offshore, and they flout critical consumer protections and U.S. gaming laws that we would have with other forms of gaming like sports betting and so forth that are designed to keep consumers safe. But the problem is Virginians generally don't know that they're placing an unauthorized bet. They don't know what's happening behind the scenes. They don't realize that it's unregulated. And they have no alternative. They have no legal alternative to turn to essentially engage in the same kind of activity or play the same kind of games. So what this would do is set up a legal regulated framework, build in the consumer protections, do all the things we did essentially with the sports betting marketplace so that we can have a safe, legal, but also regulated, consumer-friendly version of these items. 6 states, including Connecticut, Delaware, and Michigan, have already gone ahead and done legal regulated iGaming. So this bill would just add Virginia to the list. Every product that would be in the regulated marketplace would be rigorously tested, approved by expert government regulators before it's available to consumers to make sure it meets the standards. And so while regulated operators would embed consumer protections to every aspect of their product, unregulated online sweepstakes and casinos often do the opposite. So again, we're trying to just bring this into the light, give consumers an alternative to play these sorts of games on their phone, what they're already doing, but do it with some consumer protections and safeguards there. And I know that we have at least one person here who'd like to briefly speak to the measure before you guys decide what to do with it.
Thank you, Delegate. Do you have, is there any questions or comments from the delegates from the committee? Anybody in the room want to speak in favor?
Chairman Kruzik, members of the subcommittee, my name is John Mormon, Senior Government Affairs Manager for DraftKings, here today in support of the legislation. Just want to echo some of the points that the delegate made here, that a legal regulated iGaming market is the best way to compete with the pervasive illegal market excuse me, that we're currently seeing in the Commonwealth currently. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have about iGaming or other states that have adopted something similar.
Do we have any questions? I have a lot. And I don't know if we have time for them all. I'll ask a couple questions, but I think what you're going to see is that there's so many questions that we need to send this to for a study, and maybe to the study group that's working on the Gaming Commission. But I'm just curious what how you came up with the 2.5% for the problem gambling treatment and support fund. I'm trying to move that up to 5% in different, because we're woefully underfunded right now, and I was wondering if you could tell me in those, what did you say, 6 states that it's legal right now? What is their tax rate, and how much money are they putting towards problem gambling?
So I would defer to the patron on sort of that 2 to 5 to 5%. I think we would certainly be amenable to that. Where the revenue goes, that revenue destination, we would leave up to you all as the General Assembly to make that determination. But the 2.5 was, you see that as going up from some of the other legislation for expanded gaming that we've seen in the Commonwealth. That's normally that 1% average. So we had made it a point to make sure that number was higher than the past. If it's 5%, that's okay as well. That would be on the higher side of things, I would say, on average. States that have legalized this are Connecticut, Delaware, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Rhode Island. Those tax rates on average in competitive states, some states like Delaware, for example, have just one monopoly operator, so that tax rate's a little higher. It's more of a revenue share than a tax rate. But on average, in competitive states, you're looking at a tax rate around 16%. Small sample size, of course, so you're seeing numbers sort of across the spectrum there. I don't have the figures in front of me on what percentages of that tax revenue in those states go to a problem gambling treatment fund or something similar, but I can get you that information, as you'd like.
So that's the kind of information that we can glean in this work group. So rather than take too much time of the committee, let's put this off let's do that. I think what I would like to see is a motion to, unless there's anybody else who wants to testify, a motion to, is there? Yeah, do you want to, we do have somebody else who wants to testify in support.
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, David Halleck on behalf of the Coalition for Fantasy Sports, and we would support this going to a study as well, work group. I think there's a lot of technical issues with some of the language that really needs to be worked out, and we can work with the patron and the work group over the next year and get it right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Before the motion, since it's non-debatable, I agree with what everybody said. I agree with the points you've raised. I think the point in introducing this year, even though it's a short year, is to sort of lay out a framework and give us a straw man to sort of start poking at. And I think you started poking a little bit. But I think none of the issues that you've raised are insurmountable. I think that working with the other stakeholders and the work group, we can get to something that'll be probably very palatable in 2026. But we just want folks to start to think about this issue and figure out what the questions are that need to be answered. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate. So I would say one last comment. I mean, you're right. What you're saying is correct. This is a big kind of a sea change for the Commonwealth in gaming. And one thing you all kind of know, I've been working hard with Senator Bryce Reeves and the commission. Many of you are on it. The committee that's studying putting together the Virginia Gaming Commission, and we've got a lot of new gaming, and we've still got some casinos that haven't even been finished constructing, let alone open. What has to happen is we've got to get the new agency, the regulatory body, up and running, and we can't have it in 3 different agencies as we have it now. So we're asking a lot of those regulators to keep doing their job and to set up and move over into a new agency. So rather than, even if we wanted to pass this right now, it would be setting it up for failure because they would not be able to handle it. It would be too much. I know some of them are in the room, and they're probably happy that I'm saying this, but it's so having said that, what I would like to do is gently lay, if we have a motion, gently lay this on the table, and then we'll do a letter to the work group from me and maybe the chairman Bulova, and we can take this up as we go forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I consider that a win.
Okay. Yes, Delegate Torian.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we gently lay HB 2171 on the table.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. The clerk will close the roll. The bill's been gently laid on the table, 7-0. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to insert myself in your agenda. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Delegate. And there's one, the clerk has reminded me to take the delegates that are sitting here rather than delegates that are up on the dais, and I apologize to Delegate Batten for making her wait because I have some bills up, but I'm gonna make myself wait. We're gonna have Delegate Batten, before her ice cream all melts, she is going to come up and tell us why we should have alcoholic ice cream.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have before you today House Bill 2342 that changes the definition of the confectionery license that's in the ABC section of the code. Just a little bit of background on this legislation. I have within my district, and I'm sure you also have as well, an ice cream shop. I also have a distillery in my legislative district, and they decided to start a collaboration where they would make ice cream that was infused with a little bit of alcohol. Not too much, has to be a very small percentage, otherwise the ice cream will not freeze. Dutifully, the owner of the ice cream shop went to ABC to apply for an ABC license. They thought it would fall under the definition area of confectionery, but technically it doesn't because ice cream's not a liquid, but it's also not a baked good. And so they have sort of been in limbo ever since then, trying to figure out how they could apply for an ABC license to remain within the scope of the law. And it would require a slight change. The amount of alcohol would stay the same there, but there are description in the legislation as to what the content could be when it comes to ice cream and sorbet and such. It still remains, like I said, at that 5% level, and there's language included also about ensuring that it is in a tamper-proof container, so that way if you are selling it to, in a, I don't want to say to go necessarily, but if you're buying a container of it, it does have to be tamper-proof roof and indicate that there is alcohol there so that they remain in compliance. And I am happy to answer any questions that the committee might have, and I also do have someone here to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Delegate. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee? If you'd like, I'll start, and then you guys can weigh in if nobody. Delegate Seabald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so Delegate Batten, I remember this bill from last year. Has anything changed from that bill?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so it's the same bill as last year. So I was unable to support it last year, and I'm also going to be unable to support it this year because I believe that, first and foremost, our responsibility on the subcommittee is to protect our children. And so I feel like this bill does not protect our children and does seem irresponsible. I have teenagers at home, and most of their friends work at the local ice cream store. And I can't imagine that they can walk into that store and they wouldn't be able to access alcohol from their friends who are working there. Also, I remember from last year, unless something's changed, we went back and forth on how we would ID children who are coming into the store to access the ice cream. And if nothing has changed from last year to this year, I'm guessing that there still really isn't a mechanism to ensure that our kids are not receiving alcohol from ice cream stores. And, 5% sounds like a little bit, but for children, that's a large amount of alcohol that they're able to access. And this is just something I can't support. So thank you for bringing the bill forward, but as I said, we got to do what's best for kids, and that's not what this bill does.
Was that a question? Because they are subject to the rules that govern ABC compliance.
To the chair.
I'm sorry, was that a question? Or
you're supposed to say, Mr. Chairman, was that a question?
Mr. Chairman, is that a question?
Delegate, were you asking a question or were you just making a statement?
A question about what, Mr. Chair? I'm not quite sure what the
Delegate,
question is.
do you want to ask the patron a specific question, or you just?
No, Mr. Chair. I was just sharing the reasons why I'm not going to be supporting this bill.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Delegate, do you want to respond to that? What her reasons?
Mr. Chairman, I do have someone here to speak to the bill who's an owner of a store, and I think could answer how they would conduct compliance. And also, just to note that ABC is subject to enforcement. Just like if you were to go into a restaurant and there would be a server there who is serving alcohol, they require to check ID. Obviously, we know we have children as well that are servers in restaurants and whatnot, and when their friends come in, they are supposed to also check for their ID as well and not illegally serve them an alcoholic beverage. So, but I will.
Before you bring up anybody, do we have any other further questions?
I do have a question.
Delegate Torian.
Delegate, you mentioned the question that I have. Is there an age requirement to work in these stores where they're going to be serving presumably alcoholic ice cream?
I do not believe there is an age there. I'm not sure. I would have to defer to council as far as what the requirements are generally in this section.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate.
So right now, until we defer to council on it, there is a potential for a 16 or 17-year-old youth working in the store that may have access to serving alcoholic ice cream?
Mr. Chairman, I'm waiting for council.
Okay, so the answer is yes, that would be the case, but we'll let council opine on that. Any other questions? ABC, do you guys want to opine on this or give us any thoughts, anything different than what you said last year? Mr. Daniels?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, John Daniel, West Virginia, ABC. I'm going to play off Delegate Batten's question. Was that a question?
Do you have anything
our biggest
to say?
concern, we had this bill last year, right, and we talked through it. We tried to find our way or some path to yes. We're certainly supportive of entrepreneurship, especially when we have two businesses trying to work together. But our stumbling block was exactly, I think, where Delegate Seabold went, which was the public safety components of the legislation. I mean, while it's, when you serve it as ice cream, it's kind of a semi-solid, it's not a solid, it's not a liquid. As soon as you take it outside, and this is an on and off-premise license, as soon as you take it outside, it is a liquid.
Certainly in the summer, it becomes a liquid. I noticed in this bill that wine and beer retailing has been folded into this confectionery license. It seems like this would open the door for on-premises wine and beer sales. Is that something that you're concerned with?
I'm not sure I understand your question or what.
Well, if the alcohol content cap only applies to ice cream sales, right?
Yeah.
But the bill, it seems to allow for wine and beer retailing also to be in a part of this.
I don't think this has anything to do with the sale of wine or beer.
All right, take a look at that. What about the legal question we just had? Does ABC allow, is it allowed in the code that underage servers can serve alcohol in restaurants or in any location?
Yeah, one minute, I gotta check with a friend. If I could,
okay, here we go,
Chairman.
Chief Kirby.
What is it, 18 or something? It's gonna be 18?
This is considered to be off-premise. There wouldn't be a limit.
How about on-premise, though?
On-premise is 18.
Well, they're doing both. So, it's never an easy answer, Mr. Chairman, anything. Apparently off-premise, if you can be under 18 to serve, but if you're on-premise, it's over 18 in order to be able to serve. So there'd be some safeguard within the establishment with respect to who was serving, but I don't know if it's a to-go.
This bill extends the license to on-premises as well. I'm sure many ice cream stores I know in my district have seating in the stores, not just off-premises type of a store. So that means that in that case, you would have to have 18 and up servers.
Yes,
I know that a lot of ice cream stores, especially in the summer, have even younger 16-year-olds and maybe even younger than that doing part-time work selling ice cream. It's yeah. So.
No.
Any other questions for ABC from the committee? All right, thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
I think we all recognize that there's a segment of the population that loves their ice cream, and there's a segment of the population that loves their alcohol. And if you do a Venn diagram, maybe you can get a circle there that intersects, and you've got some people that like their alcohol in their ice cream. And they can still do that at home. You can buy ice cream, and then you can buy some alcohol, and you can make your own ice cream mix, if you will. But I think this committee, what you've heard is we're concerned about public safety. We're concerned about alcohol being served by minors. We're concerned about young people in what's really a alcohol-free zone, which is the ice cream store. It's really a children's store. I know a lot of adults, like myself, like our ice cream, but I've never been in an ice cream store where I haven't seen little kids, and I don't know if we want to have people in there, getting drunk, or drinking too much, or, basically, or eating too much ice cream. And it's not just ice cream, it's popsicles, it's all kinds of things, it's everything but a milkshake. So I don't think anything's changed since last year. The bill hasn't changed, and our minds haven't changed. So what I would like to do is ask the committee for a motion and see how they feel about it one way or the other, but I don't think things have changed, and I appreciate you bringing it forth, but I think it's just it's a bridge too far for our committee. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Dale.
There is an individual who traveled here to...
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You told me that. Please have them come up and speak. And they brought ice cream. I feel badly now. Yeah, that's true. Tell us about your store a little bit, too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'd like to thank the committee chair, the committee members, and the House of Delegates for allowing me to come here and speak again. It's been a year of discovery and learning since my last visit. If I told me that I would be speaking here in a lobbyist role on behalf of over 70 independent ice cream shops in the Commonwealth of Virginia, I would not have believed you. Moo Through, Blue Cow, Chaps, Crozet, Sugar Shack, Mattie's, Ice Cream Cakes and Crepes, the list goes on. As a group of independent and often wildly distant shops, we find ways to bring the best products to our customers in the Commonwealth. Trying to get a hold of each other and to talk about things is even more difficult, but the thought is that we could include a new product line and add another tier to our menu is something that we agree on. The alcoholic, or as we say, adult ice cream market is a growing trend. Alcoholic ice cream market, the global industry analysis forecast for 2024 to 2030, is valued at $1.46 billion in 2023, and the total alcoholic ice cream revenue is expected to grow at 7.2% through 2024 to 2030, reaching nearly $2.38 billion worldwide. Some brands of larger corporations are already headlong in the market, with offerings from Buzz Bar, Speakeasy Ice Creams Limited, Häagen-Dazs, Proof alcohol-infused ice cream, Hard Scoop, Tipsy Scoop. You can go to Kroger and get these. Your small ice cream shops are just looking for the opportunity to get into the game. Some will purchase from established companies. Others, like myself, will formulate and create their own concoctions in the house. Whatever decision they decide for their business, let them have a decision that they can make. I've brought with me the equivalent of what a 5% serving is. So for a shot, a 40 or a 80 proof liquor, it's 1.5 ounces, right? 5 for a regular wine, 12 ounces for a beer. This is 15 ounces of ice cream. This is the equivalent of a beer. This is 6 scoops from my shop. I don't even sell anything this large. This is one. And to overindulge, you would have to almost eat 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of ice cream at one setting. Some people can do that. Not doubting it. Not doubting it one bit. We mix air into our product as well. So that's part of the reason why our volume is a lot larger, is because you have the liquid volume, and then after you've placed it through the machine, it increases its volume with air. So it actually makes the percentage less when you go per scoop. So every American eats roughly 20 pounds of ice cream. So that's what, 4 gallons of ice cream a year. So if you were consuming roughly 1 scoop per visit, so you're looking, 16 beers total for the entire year. If you're going by national averages, even if you have somebody that's above that, we're not even looking at a case. So we have a desire to meet our customers' demands, flourish in our individual market spaces, and follow the law if given the chance. The enforcement thing it is 18 years old. You do hire employees that are 18, and there are other restaurants that have younger folks, they're 16, and they cannot take the alcohol to the table. That is restaurants. We're not classified as a restaurant. We can't be, unfortunately. I wish I could, because then I would be applying for a mixed beverage permit, and we wouldn't even have this conversation. We know that there may be some other issues on the table that can be left to speculation, but ice cream itself is not partisan. People who come into my shop do not wear big R's or D's on their chest. They come in as people, not labels, and we serve them our best products. There's issues with who's presenting the bill, giving somebody who would use their limited number of submissions that would please you. I did speak with someone from the other side, and they said this would be best left for my delegate. And they have legislation that's more pressing for them. We're not picky because that's not something that we're concerned about. Before I end comments, I want to thank you all specifically for a few things. I want to thank the whole House of Delegates for legalizing cannabis. You have created a customer class that is perfect for my business. That is the absolute truth. I have folks that they'll get 3 quarts on a Friday evening, and then I don't see them again until the next Friday, and they tear it up all weekend long. I also want to say that while this amendment was denied last time, you opened up an opportunity for me to talk with my somewhat reclusive group of entrepreneurs and visit and share ideas and enjoy some great ice cream when I visited them. Just like when you open the confectionery category for bake and candy shops, you will see the success in your small businesses and the investment you make in us by allowing us to have a more diverse, current, and attractive broad range of products for not only our locals, but also for tourists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that your delegate is the right person to go to, and that this is not a political issue. This is a public safety issue, and I appreciate your advocacy. It's obviously very heartfelt.
What I did bring something for the committee. It is samples.
All right.
Because I cannot sell them, but I can create them. So I've created them in my shop. I have 5 or 6 different varieties. I probably have enough for at least better than half the room if you wish.
Okay, if you will wait till there's a couple more
We can
bills.
wait till break and you
All
can
right.
come and try some.
And then we can all come and talk to you. Thank you very much.
That is correct.
All right, this committee moves on by motion. Do we have a motion? Delegate Torian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chair, I think part of the concern with this piece of legislation is that we entertained it last session, and in all due respect to the delegate, the legislation is before us again, but there are no changes. And because there are no changes, I would imagine that the vote would be consistent from last year to this year. Because if there had been some changes, then perhaps the committee probably would be looking at it in a different light. But I think from where I sit, ma'am, I have to be consistent with how I voted last year because I do not see any changes in the legislation this year. So, Mr. Chairman, I have a motion.
Delegate.
I move that we gently lay House Bill 2342 on the table.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The clerk will open the roll. The clerk will close roll. The bill has been laid on the table. I vote 5-2. Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
The no votes want more samples. Our next bill is going to be my 2167, so I'm going to pass the gavel to Chairman Torian.
All right, committee, HB 2167 is before us. Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to move the substitute.
I move the substitute. Second.
All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. This bill, I came, last year we had this, and I think it was uncontested. It went to the Senate, and I don't think they understood what it does. But already in the code, there's 50-50 raffle, charitable games. What this would do is allow it to be electronically administered. And so you could go to things like NASCAR and NCAA sanctioned events, pro sports leagues, those kinds of things. And you can't, it's very difficult to use paper. You know, I don't know how many of you've been to a NASCAR event or in every NASCAR event outside of Virginia allows you to do this. And what happens is you buy, there's guys come around with computer kind of thing, a ticket, it's electronic, and they can print up. You can go to the Caps game in DC and you can buy tickets. And Nats game, same thing. And at the 7th or 8th inning, they announce the winner. You look at your tickets that you bought. You get $50 gets you 100 tickets or something like that. And you look at your numbers, and if your number comes up, whatever that total is, you get half of it. And that's what they call 50-50 raffle. The other half goes to charity. if you never collect your half, it goes to charity as well. So it's a really nice way to raise money quickly for nonprofits, and it's being done everywhere. We just need to get to the 21st century and make it electronic. But I do want to make sure that that Mike Menifee, is he here from VDAX? Is anybody here? Yeah, there you are, hiding in the corner. Do you want to come and just describe the changes made from the bill from last year and the one that's before us now with these little? He's made some technical corrections. I think they're technical, and I want to thank Mr. Menifee for all the hard work he does in regulating charitable gaming.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, just to let you know, the administration is yet to take a position on this bill, just to let the committee know. I think anything in terms of this bill, it was just last year's bill was outside the charitable gaming statutes. So this one just integrates this type of raffle into the charitable gaming law itself. And there was some repetition in the original bill that was introduced that was obviously removed because repetition with regards to it all. But in terms of all that, Mr. Chairman, what would you like to me convey?
So those are really the changes that you made?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just technical stuff to eliminate some redundancies in that.
I appreciate the time you took on that. It doesn't. This doesn't limit high school booster clubs and other current participants from conducting traditional paper raffles.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Chairman Torrey.
Any member of the committee would like to make comments on HB 2167? If not, out in the audience, do we have anyone who would like to speak in favor of HB 2167? Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to speak against HB 2167? If not, the committee act on the motion.
Move to report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we report HB 2167. Will the clerk open the roll? Clerk can close the roll. That bill reports 6-1. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, we have one last bill, and you're going to chair this one too. Before we get to it, what I want to just, this is the 2166, but it's, there is, what I would like us to do, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, is pass this by for the day, but let's discuss it now because we have time, and next week we will not have time because we're going to have so many bills, and then we can vote on it next week because the final technical language is not finished yet. There's a lot of cross-referencing, but I will explain it as much as I can, and then we'll come back again and answer any further questions once it's been posted next week. So knowing that it's going to be passed by for the day, I just wanted to have that ability. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before us now we have HB 2166. We have heard the sentiments and expressions of the chair, and at this time, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what this does is, I don't know how many of you know what breakage is. Raise your hand if you know what breakage is. All right, we don't have anybody in the audience. There we do. We got one person. So right now, when you go to a racetrack and you bet $5 on number one to win, and when number one wins, and it goes off at 2-1, let's say. And so you expect you'd get $10, right? You'd get $10. But it doesn't always equal $10 because it's pari-mutuel betting. You're betting with a big pot. There's a lot of people involved in it. So what ends up happening is you may get $10.23. Well, what you get when you go to the ticket window to get your winnings, you cash your ticket, you give them your ticket, and they gave you $10 and they give you 20 cents, but they keep the 3 cents. So that's the breakage. It's called dime. It's a dime breakage. So that means anything under 10 cents, 9 cents really, the track is keeping it, and it's keeping it for a few reasons. I'll explain that. And it also happens with historic horse racing machines. There's a breakage there. There's also breakage with the online live betting as well. And so in some states, in Kentucky, for example, the breakage goes back to the bettor, so they do give you the pennies. But here in Virginia, we don't give the pennies. So what I've proposed to do, and as I said earlier in the meeting, I'm trying to work on getting more money to the problem gambling treatment and support fund, and this is a perfect kind of pot of money because it's not a lot, but it is significant. It's around $700,000-800,000 kind of back of the envelope calculations. So what we would do is, if you look at the bill that's up there now, in line 238, it talks about the breakage from live and simulcast horse racing. That breakage, that breakage is going to remain, is not going to be a part of this bill. So what's going to happen is that does not get affected. So that money goes back to the bettors. But the next line on 246 through 253, that's the breakage from the parimutuel pool for historical horse racing, which is the bigger pot, not the live horse racing over at the racetracks, but this is actually the going to the Rosies and playing historical horse races. That money will now, 70% of that would go to the Problem Gambling Treatment and Support Fund, which we established by, this committee supported a few years ago, and it's doing great work. And 30% would go to the Racing Benevolence Fund, which is where it goes right now, and they use it for gambling addiction, substance abuse counseling, recreational, educational, other related programs for the horsemen, and to help the back of the track kind of programs that they have there for the folks that are part of the racetrack. So that they would still get that money, and we would have this other money that would normally go to the church, to the owner of the racetrack or the owner of the machines. They would not get the money anymore. It will go to the problem gambling. So that's the idea. The reason it's that the bill has to be, to be honest, our council's working very, very hard, and we've given her a lot of bills at the very last minute, and we've making a lot of changes, and I made some very last second changes. So this is on me, and that's why we have to come back next week after the public has a chance to see what's up online. So I don't want to have a vote on it until it's ready. But I think if you have any questions about breakage, you can ask now and about this bill and what it's trying to do. Now's the time, but hopefully next week we can just go right to a vote and maybe if there's anybody in the public that wants to talk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the committee? Anyone in the audience who is in favor of HB 2166 and have comments? Anyone in opposition of HB 2166? If not, then I believe it is the desire of the chair that we pass this by for the day. Chair would entertain a motion. It's been moved and seconded that we pass by for the day HB 2166. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? HB 2166 passed by for the day, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that concludes our work, but the clerk has whispered in my ear.
We're okay.
Okay, so false alarm, we're okay, we're all, we're ready to go. Do we have any final words? All right, we have a motion to adjourn, and it's been seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Okay, we are now adjourned.